Hello and welcome to Neverwinter Nights, and this will be part 50. In the previous episode, we cured the Spirit of the Wood and leveled up to level 12. So, after all the fun we had in the previous episode, I was thinking that would probably be a good idea to get any loose ends tied. And there are a handful of loose ends that we need to get sorted. We have the werewolf hunter quest, we have the gems, we have the books. And then we won't have an awful lot more. So let us head towards the Green Griffin Inn. Now this NPC we are going to get into a bit of a fight with. I got killed, by the way, that's why I had reloaded and buffed. It is because we have progressed everything else but this area, and that he is aggressive. Normally, if you bump into this area earlier, he will speak to you and give you some sort of hint thing. And if the name seems familiar, he was in the in Port Last, where he was giving you some clue as to where potentially you could find the cult. And he's not involved with the cult, he just wants to have the credit for discovering their whereabouts, and that's why he's trying to take us out and hope to take our information and present it and be the big hero. It's funny with this game when you fight, if you fight something and you get mauled, you buff your armor class by a few points and suddenly they have a very hard time hitting you. In many cases it doesn't take an awful lot of modifying, so it is well worth, if you play the game and you get frustrated with certain fights, just drink a few potions. If you're a spellcaster, cast a few spells, you'll probably be fine. Which is more than can be said for this guy. Considering that his item is very powerful, what he drops is a bit bleh. Actually, it's very bleh. And I don't know whether that was a mistake or a fault or a flaw or whatever you call it, but he drops a non-magical warhammer. Lovely. I'm fairly sure he backstabs with a warhammer. Never mind. Of course, it's called sneak attacks, but it's not stabby related anymore. So you can probably use a broom handle to sneak attack someone. Anyway, we have to go into this inn, the Green Griffin, and there's a thing going on in this which is a very hush-hush. Apparently the innkeeper has this dungeon underneath the inn, which is a challenge dungeon that people can participate in if they don't like their life anymore, because it is filled to the brim with quite deadly opponents, and you're basically doing it as a sort of blood entertainment for other people. He's being paid by other people for them to be allowed to spectate, and then he has some random individuals running in and getting themselves eaten, chopped to bits, exploded, and whatever else might happen in such a place. But that area will be for the next video. This will be the last bit we have left to do before we hand in the information about the cult. Not entirely true, I'd say. We will also need to do the follower quest stuff, but because the last follower item is in that dungeon, let's make sure to keep them together. Anyway, this young lady who's apparently very forthcoming, she holds the last gem that we need for the elf dude, and we dismissed her, approaches, and the game is getting a bit raunchy, I think it's called. apparently he's in the mood and we won't do it, so someone else will survive. And
Come up to my room then and waste your
he's not so bright,
day.
but I suppose he can be used for
me do that.
individual things. No, I'm not necessarily a fan of being a peeping Tom, but just, just follow them, you know, because I mean, they're not doing anything untowards. Don't worry, it's not that kind of game. Or I should say, don't worry, maybe it's what a shit, I don't know. Regardless, we go into the room and she's very, very aggressive, and I'll give you 5 seconds to go out, whatever thing.
Halt! You have but a moment to leave my room before I attack you.
We still need to defeat her because we need that gem. So let's go in and say hi and see if she's happy about that. You can loot the chest, that will definitely turn her aggressive. But her fighter friend, he is aggressive, but he looks like he's quite happy to watch his romantic interest, or should I say physical interest, being slapped about by Monk. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. It's an old game, it doesn't always work the way you expect it to.
Though it shames me to admit it, I am defeated.
Regardless, he is very unimpressed by the fact that we defeated her, and we also tricked her, apparently, and she can't face her women, even though half the women are men, so there's some what's the term I'm looking for, some gender misrepresentation kind of thing. Go on. Whatever, we got the gem. And we have a convict in here. Now his story is the fact that he apparently was hired to fight in arenas, or forced or whatever. And of course, being a Minotaur, he's born to fight, so he wants to win. And then suddenly he was told not to win. And then he won anyway, and of course, people weren't really happy about that, so they got some sort of accusation built up around him so he could be imprisoned. And technically, you could argue that probably didn't break any laws except for pissing some bitch people off. But unfortunately, I do not want to have the quest sitting in my quest log for the rest of the game. And yes, that is the sole reason why I decided to flatten him, because we can let him go, but we won't have an ear, which means we can't hand in the quest. Yeah. Sorry, the game dictates that I can't let you go. So, at least we heard his story. He was a noble fighter and all that stuff. And then he was forced to not be noble, and he was protesting against that. And I can give him credit for that. But the laws of the game unfortunately dictates that I need his ear, and he will not give me his ear by other means. So I'll have to take it. I don't know about other people, but it really bores me when you're playing a game like this and you have that one quest you never completed, and just staring at you for the rest of the game. And for some bizarre reason, here's another. Well, everyone's using commas, it seems. So we go into the graveyard keeper, who apparently has a key to the crypt. And he mentioned something about the Arcane Brotherhoods, some of their mages being buried down there, and talking about books. Of course, we probably need another book for a certain side quest, so we persuade him to hand over the keys. He wants to sell it for a certain amount of coins, but nah, we just rip him off. We don't rip him off, I'm not going to feed him. So, we have the key to the crypt, and after killing about 30 irrelevant zombies, it's time to kill about 200 irrelevant zombies. So that is sped up, and I will do an editing cut because even sped up, this bit was about 11 minutes long, which you can possibly imagine was a bit excessive. I like to keep my video parts between 25 and 30 minutes, 20 and 30 minutes ideally, and this one was flirting with 34 minutes, which I felt was completely unnecessary when it was predominantly slowed down by this kind of fighting, so there will be some editing cut thing going on right around here. There we are. Cut. Now, mazes and crypts which are still alive, they're usually liches, and of course a lich is a very, very powerful entity, usually. And do not be surprised by the fact that there is indeed a lich in this crypt. And of course he holds onto a book that we sort of need, and he's not in a talking mood. So we of course have to fight him. That's just the way these kind of things works. But he's got a lot of friends in there, and I would like to have his friends coming out and play before we play with him, because it's not because his friends can cause much of a threat, but he himself can, and it is one spell that he's capable of casting that it just it feels bugged, because I can understand that certain spells are supposed to be powerful, but this is an AoE spell in, what's it called, Edward's Black Tentacle or something. It spawns a handful of, quite a large handful of tentacles that will smack people about if they are in the area, and they have a chance to hold on to people so they can't move. If you can't move in a zone where you're being smacked about by tentacles, you can probably imagine you're taking an awful lot of damage. The damage that spell spews out is ridiculous. I mean, you get 10 hits within 2 seconds. I don't know whether that's the intention of the spell, but it has proven to be rather deadly to this character. I think this was the force reload. The key is to keep him on his back so he does not cast that spell. And considering the fact that he keeps penetrating our spell resistance, means that he must be quite a high level caster. The Light Tentacle spell is a level 5 spell, so that means the caster would be at least level 11, but he's probably a bit more than that. But anyway, he got flattened. We get our book. This means, of course, now we have the 5th and final book for that side quest as well. So we have the ears sorted and the books sorted. Always lovely.
Hello.
So let's go ahead in the books, just to be rid of them.
Just a routine visit.
There's this guy that will come up to us and try to speak to us. We have been warned about yet another attempted assassin thing sent up as a cult, and you have a few NPCs running around warning you about him, describing him and all that stuff. They seem rather persistent. Anyway, some decent experience and money to be had for doing this. So, we need to go and speak to Nurek, because we, of course, have the 3 rings from the 3 young men that we cured, and we need to hand them in before we can find Sir Carasis, or Carasis, whatever he's called. Even if you find his den, he's not in his den before you hand in these rings. So that will be something we need to take care of. And of course we have to hand in the bounties, but lo and behold, someone's been kidnapped by the last member that there's a bounty on. apparently the mayor's daughter is missing. And for some bizarre reason, he wants her rescued, which I don't particularly blame him. We get the reward for the other bounties. And then we get the key to the Port Last mines, which has been shut down for years, but apparently that's where the guy has fled to, moved to, whatever. So we have to punch our way through a bunch of orcs and ogres. Happy days, sped up, because it's pointless. I really like this game. I know sometimes I'll probably sound a bit moany, but that is my... that is what I do. I mean, we all need a good whining from time to time, a good whine, I think it's called, from time to time. But I honestly do like this game. One reason I think that you have all these annoying fights in the game is partially to give it some sense of scope and some sense of being alive, and of course give you something to do instead of just running from location A to location B. But of course it also gives mages something to fireball and feel epic about blowing up 10 enemies at a time. So it serves its purpose. It's just when you are, and that was fat fingers by the way, when you are typed that you have to engage enemies one at a time, that becomes a bit dull. But we'll take it. It's part of the game. I wouldn't. If the alternative is not to play the game, then I would not play the game. I know double negative doesn't work, but you know what I mean. So more fighting, hooray! Completely not laser around. Most enemies at this point can only hit 9 at rolling 20, 19, 20, 18, 19, 20, something like that. So we are not overly concerned. I mean, you'll still get hit quite significantly. It's actually quite bizarre how high the NPCs or enemies, whatever you call them, can roll. Not like me trying to bash a chest and triple rolling one, apparently. So, yeah, that was interesting. Is it in this bit? I can't remember where it was, but there's one of the fights where the monk is completely surrounded by enemies and he quits one of them when he kills it and it blows up. And I mean, if I was watching someone punch someone else so hard he exploded, I think I would shit myself, excuse the wording, but I think I would fill my pants. Yeah, but I guess it's a game. Just cleaning out the mess. One gold piece here, one gold piece there, it's just like with experience and all adds up. So we have worked our way into the inner chamber and chamber even thing. That's that door, by the way. And I reloaded this fight 6 times, I think it was. Partially because of bug, and partially because I could not believe that it was intended to have the outcome it does have. I mean, he's very, very loud-mouthed, but he's about as difficult to defeat as a suffocating fish or something, I don't know. Whatever. Apparently he's trying to tell us that his victim was all for coming along with him and all that stuff, and of course after we sort of push him a bit harder, he tells us the truth that he probably got her a bit drunk and all that good stuff. Now, he's a wanted criminal, he's kidnapped someone, Why you get evil points for deciding to finish him off? Some of the others, if they surrender, or if all of them surrender, unless the game bugs and you flatten them, you don't get evil points for finishing those guys off. But this one specifically gives 7 evil points, and I think that must be a bug.
Oh God! Please,
Regardless,
don't hurt me!
who do we bump into? Remember there was an NPC I was looking for that was very, very adamant about how boring Port Last was. What a dump it was, nothing ever happened. That's her, by the way, and that is why I wanted to locate her so you could see her attitude before this little incident. Apparently, she was intoxicated and taken to this cave and had some rather unpleasant experiences that she doesn't want to talk about, and your imagination can do the rest if you are so inclined. Regardless, she regrets ever having had a desire for adventure and action because she got much more than she bargained for. And I guess that the good old mantra of saying or proverb, whatever it is it's called, saying, be careful for what you wish, you might get it, is very, very fitting in this situation. I don't know why we could make that comment about him saying that she was the one setting it all up, because we got the truth out of him that he actually was the one forcing her along. Anyway, we freed her and she's happy. She wants to go home to good old boring Port Last. At least he's learned the lesson. So, next up, Werewolf Cave, because of course we handed in the 3 rings from the young men, so now Sir Carathas is here in werewolf form, so we have to smack him about in order to get him to see sense. We make him see sense by beating him senseless, which makes perfect sense, but we'll take it. Of course, we will have the same debate with him as we've had with the others about Silver and being werewolf and all that stuff. Not good.
You need no longer attack me. You have come to put down the dread Sir Carathas.
But of course, because it's blessed Silver, it will cure him, just like it cured the boys. Well, they're called boys, but they're young men, they're not boys. I suppose it's more in a like an older person saying son to someone. It's more like an endearing title more so than anything else, I suppose. Regardless. He has faith in Nurik and Nurik's intentions, and I don't know what type of class he is, but by the way he talks, he sounds a lot like a paladin. Regardless, he needs to redeem himself, go back to his order and redeem himself, so I assume a paladin. I don't know whether that's been mentioned, or whether he is specifically a paladin. Good. Because of course he has been turned into a werewolf. And we bump into the guy that was sent out to flatten us, and yeah. It's just running along, minding our own business, and you got a big sword there, mate, but you don't know how to use it. I bet a lot of women have a few comments about that. Ha! Sorry, couldn't resist. Anyway, we can knock him on his butt, and when he's on the ground, it's very hard to fight back. It's a bit cheap, but it works. By the way, it's not a bug, it's just when you have dodging animations and punching animations and kicking animations and whatnot, sometimes the game loses out, but it still registers that the hit has been done. So that's why you see damage numbers popping up even though you may not see a swing or something. A very nice crossbow. It's a +5 crossbow, we'll take it. Hardly ever use it, but we'll take it. Anyway, we got a journal of Sir Carathas indicating who the Black Wolf is, and lo and behold, It is a guy called Alhalor. Anyone watching the series or knowing of this game will know that that is a lycanthropy, anti-lycanthropy salesman standing right next to the one boy that did not get affected by lycanthropy, fighting the werewolves, or fighting the original werewolf, and yeah, he was actually basically hiding in plain sight. So of course we tell Andor that Alhalor was the Black Wolf, or is the Black Wolf, and we just, have a kind little note to warn him.
Home! This town means everything to me. Thank you for saving me. I will never do anything so foolish again.
And then we hand in the quest for saving Kendrick's daughter, and she's definitely been cured of her adventurous spirit. So everyone's happy. Still puzzled by the fact that I gained evil points for finishing that guy off, but whatever. I mean, maybe, I don't know, someone's pet. Alhalor, he's home, and he is not overly surprised to see us, apparently. Of course, he turns into a werewolf, and because he is the original werewolf, he's significantly tougher than the other werewolves. But
I suppose I should welcome you to my den.
you knock an opponent down, and of course you have an easy time hitting them when you knock them down, but just as much it gives you time to heal without provoking attacks of opportunity, because normally if you play on this normal difficulty level, you will not provoke attacks of opportunity by using potions and that kind of stuff. But as I've stated very, very early on in this series, I increased the difficulty to compensate for the fact that I started with a slightly higher level character, not because I wanted to cheese the game, but because I had done a lot of recording and recorded without recording. When you record for 2 hours and realize you haven't recorded a single frame, then yeah. So I extracted the character, or exported the character I think it's called, and started a new game. He started 2 levels higher than he would be at the end of the prelude. So it does make a difference, definitely, but to compensate for that, I increased the difficulty to hardcore Dungeons and Dragons rules, which means that your player character can get crit, and they will provoke attacks of opportunity when using potions and that kind of stuff. Hold spells, paralyze and not similar, will behave normally, whereas in normal difficulty level, which the game is designed around, you are just dazed. So, I mean, I could set on the hardest difficulty level and just reload infinitely. It doesn't make any difference. I see no reason to make this more painful than it has to. You're not benefiting from it, you're just... Yes, they can do a lot more damage to me than I can do to them. Ha ha. I reloaded 400 times and stuff. You reloaded 20 times, but I'm still feeling I'm epic. Each to their own. I'm not knocking anyone for having that attitude. If that's what people want to do, by all means, good on you. But I fail to see that there's any benefit from doing so. Regardless, we are done with our little werewolf, and we take his tooth and get a ring of invisibility, which is a cool little item, but an item I will utterly and totally forget to use. So, Ander doesn't know what to do, so we suggest he opens up a shop, and then of course because we're nice people, we give him 100 gold to get him started, and that gives us the 7 points back that we lost from flattening that convict. And of course we speak to Nurek and tell about the epicness of defeating the big bad wolf, and everyone's happy. We got a decent chunk of experience out of it. Coming up to the end of this video, next time we have Moonsadin's and dungeon channels to complete, and of course getting the follower items sorted. On that note, thanks for watching, take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.